Okay, so let's say, for instance, you've got pain around the area and you've decided that it is a plantar fasciitis, okay? Might not be, but let's say we treat it accordingly. And then you've decided to use some of the tape. Then this is how I would apply it. There's many techniques. You know, if you looked at YouTube, it's probably 5 to 10 to probably 200, yeah, depending. So this one tends to work for me. I'm not anybody come back saying it hasn't really helped, which I quite like, because if it doesn't work, I normally modify and change it, yeah, and things like that. But I must have done this thousands of times, yeah, and teaching it, things like that. Now, what Kenzo says is that we would normally, like for instance, if I was doing a low dye taping technique, then I would probably tape a foot in relative neutral. And so I would use the zinc oxide, but in this case, we are going to apply a dorsiflexion. So we are what they call preloading. So rock tape will say we would preload the tissue. So we preload it, so we place it into a stretch and we apply tape over a stretched tissue. Because when you think about, say, an athlete who's going to say, it doesn't matter whether they're going to throw a javelin, okay, or kick a ball, okay, if you restrict the motion, so if I tape the shoulder with athletic tape and I limit external rotation and abduction, then I'm going to limit that athlete during his activity. Because the word rest and the word athlete, they don't really go together. Okay, whatever you say to the athlete, you said, well, you want me to rest? I can't do rest, I can't rest. Okay, so, you know, they will be doing something, and if you don't advise them accordingly, they'll probably go and see someone else. They said, you know, can you not just tape me and I can still play or train or this or that? And you go, yeah, okay, I'll probably modify the tape for you. And that's what I mean. So you don't want to be restricting motion. Okay, so we'd almost take the limb to the point which is required in the sport. So in this case, because when we're walking, we want to be lifting the foot up. So it's going to be dorsiflexion. We don't want to be taping it in a plantar flex position. Okay, so we are preloaded. Then when we apply the tape, it's called the stabilizing. And then we normally apply a smaller piece of tape. And then that would be known as either the pain relieving strip or the decompression strip. Okay, so rock tape say we preload, we stabilize, we decompress. So it follows the three, but then we do modify, yeah, around it. Otherwise, each technique would be similar. Yeah, and I try to vary it for each one. So in terms of the tape, on the back of some tapes, okay, rock tape for some, but not many, there are like squares. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's 5 there. So 5, like a 5 square, okay, I think it's 5, 1, 2, 3, yeah. So a 5 square would be a typical, what we call an eye strip. And you would get 20 of these at size 5 within one box. Okay, that is normally what you would get. But on some of the tape, the rock tape, you might not see the squares. So you'd almost have to roughly take that sort of measurement, yeah, along there. You can do the measurement if you want to. You can almost like go from the distal part of the foot, just sort of like, probably a quarter of a way up the lower limb, yeah, around that sort of area. But when we put stretch onto it, it's going to go a little bit further. Okay, so, you know, if your tape has the squares on the back, you look at the rock tape ones, the one you got, and probably they just have like motivational comments and jokes. Now, place one bit of tape over it, so you fold it, and just trim those ends. Any ideas why? Yeah, so when you apply it, you know, when you put the socks and shoes on, but, you know, if you're rubbing it, say, or drying it after a shower, and there's a corner, it will peel, and if it peels, it's going to peel off. Okay, so whereas if you round the end, so that would be a pre-cut, if you like, now. Yeah, so if you bought the KT pre-cut tape and you pulled one bit off, it would look like this. So the ends are rounded, okay, and it would be this size, and you get 20 of them in a box. The problem is with pre-cut tape is that when I looked after the boat race team of Oxford, they were between 6'2" and 6'9" tall. So if I'm doing their hamstring and I'm using a piece of pre-cut tape, then it's not going to work for them. Yeah, so I need to design it, if you like, for them. So I'll use my. Well, athletic tape. So I was how you do that. Yeah. Yeah, as you say, how do you cut the ends on that one? Yeah. You'd have to show me that one. Okay, so I've got 2 bits on there. The colors are irrelevant, okay? So it makes no difference what color. But it's amazing how people smile, you know, when you go, you know, when you say, what color would you like? I go, well, what color have you got? And I go, well, I got pink. And the girl goes, pink? I love pink. I love pink. Yeah. Whereas some of them, they're like, oh, I don't like that color. Like the tan color seems to be not very popular. But in clinical sports medicine, it's one of the most popular. Yeah, because it sort of like blends in with the color of your skin. And if you've got, say, you've had a mastectomy, and then you've got lymphedema in the arm, and then you wouldn't want any colors in your arm if you're going to, to the supermarket. So to have a light color, but skin color, just blends in, and you wouldn't really see it. Okay, so it's it's more appropriate. So from here, we bring the foot in this position. You okay there? Yeah. Because it's not going to cause an increase of symptoms really. It might do a little bit, but you just back off a little bit. So from here, if you've got like squares and you split it down to 5, we would normally say split one of the squares. Okay, so you literally just pull it and it will just peel the tape. Now you have 2 choices here. If I pull it all the way off, it means I've got to touch this end to hold it, and it means that I could take a layer off the acrylic. Okay, and I'll show you another way in a second, but I only tend to hold the end a little bit, and you apply that distal to where the pain is. So the pain's here, so we apply that first square, and we don't tend to have any stretch on that first square, because if I stretch, if I lay it down and then I pull it, it's going to cause like an irritation to where it attaches to. So we don't tend to have stretch at the beginning or the end. So a bit in the middle, if you're going to apply stretch, would be within that sort of component. So from here, it's awkward to try to peel this back now. So what you would do is lock it with 2 fingers, pull it, and it then causes it to lift. And then you can peel it back. So what I suggest with this one is we lock it and we apply 100% stretch, and then we back off to 50, and then we go anywhere between 50 and 75. Okay, I apply it to the area. Because it's not a muscle or tendon as such, it's more of a connective tissue, the plantar fascia, then this what seems to work better, where it requires a bit more stability. It's like the low dye, it's quite firm taping. Whereas if you apply no stretch, okay, you're just laying it down, then I think it works better with a little bit of stretch. But then 50% stretch to ease off here, and no stretch at the end. Feed that out, blend it around the Achilles, blend it around the arch of the foot, pull a piece of tape, and then the idea is that the tape is heat activated for the acrylic, so it sticks better when it's a bit warmer. You'd be amazed when you take this tape off, say in an hour, trying to peel it off feels quite firm. Yeah,
I've never seen anyone do that before.
Yeah. So then I would heat activate it. You can use your hands if you want to. Yeah, so you can use your hands. The problem is your hands sometimes on a corner, sometimes you can call it to lift. Yeah, you can catch it. So that's part 1 done, and it's stuck very well to her foot. Yeah, around here. So the second one, I would normally go from the medial side to the lateral side. So the same again. So this time I'm not going to peel it off. I'm just going to peel it back. Okay, so I'm not going to contact the acrylic anymore. Okay, so I can apply that. I can stick that down just above the medial malleolus along here. So from there, I can pull that, peel it back to the first square, lock it down, and again, 100, 50, 75, come round. And then as it comes to the lateral malleolus, ease off a little bit, okay, because it doesn't really affect the lateral side. Blend it around the bumps of the bones. And again, just for a couple of seconds, just heat activate. Now, if it didn't work, let's say, for instance, can I have a stand and have a walk, please? Obviously, once you walk in, it's not going to restrict the motion. If, for instance, like 2 or 3 days later, she said, I'm not really sure about the tape, feels a bit too tight, okay, because it might. Then next time, rather than applying more tension to it, I might go less, because Kenzo says sometimes less is best, okay? Rather than making it feel tight and restricted, wrapping it around, almost like if you've got 75% stretch and it wasn't working, go to 50, okay? Go to 50%. Okay, and if that didn't work, go to 25. So rather than say, oh, let's go to maximum and make it feel as tight as we can. Okay, so Kenzo says less is best on